everybody, and welcome to another A Message to Scott Cawhton Reimagined Audiobook Part 2. Today we are going to read from Chapter 1. If you haven't seen the prologue, then click up there. If you want to read more from this amazing author, which is YouTube Creepypastas, then you can check the description where there's the author and the fic itself. A reminder that if you are new here, it would mean a lot to me if you subscribed, because I do a lot of different stuff, and think you can also comment what would you like to see me do next, because I am open to everything. And don't forget to like this video and share it with others. Get yourself a cup of coffee or tea or whatever drink you like to drink, and some little snack, and let's do it. Let's bite into it. A Message to Scott Cawhton Reimagined, Chapter 1. The front of the park where you first entered was just another driveway. It was in an open area, so you could see the Alton Towers, as in the actual castle the park was named after, along with the massive lake. A coffee shop was on the water's edge, where visitors who had just arrived sat down before their adventure, or where they looked upon the castle as they were preparing to leave. After 2 more minutes of walking, you came to the first few attractions. This part was mostly made of rides you will find at a circus: carousel, waltzer, bumper cars, helter-skelter, things like that. As you went further in, you came to the children's roller coaster in CBB's land, and the first of the many gift shops. Places to eat came into view, along with a few more rides for children. "Looks scary," Reese said in a bad impression of a child's voice. He was talking about the teacups ride. Everyone laughed. Alton Towers was extremely busy, and there were people everywhere you looked. Groups of teenagers walking around, taking pictures and arguing over where to go next. Parents struggled to hold onto their children as they tried to ball off towards every single ride they saw. Tourists from foreign countries talked quickly and enthusiastic, studying the maps of the park intently as the park's tour guide showed them around. Why anyone would want a holiday in Britain, the land of rain, is truly one of life's mysteries. A group of school children followed a strict-looking teacher who loudly told everyone to behave themselves and not to split up. "I love you, Abby Ryan!" one of the schoolgirls yelled. Ryan laughed, trying to put a face to the voice he heard so he could wave, but wasn't able. On a second thought, a grown man waving at a random girl in front of a teacher probably wouldn't go down well. The park was massive. If you wanted to walk from one side of the attractions to the other, it will take you around half an hour due to the crowds and winding pathway. If you wanted to go further to one of the hotels, it was 35-minute trek. And if you wanted to get to the Woodland Lodge areas from the entrance, you were looking at a 40-minute walk. Thank God for the golf carts. Finally, they got to the more grown-up section. Yet surprisingly, it wasn't a ride they went on first. No, they were straight to the carnival games and arcades. Reese found a basketball game, which he won. Out of all of the generally useful prizes he could have picked, such as portable phone chargers or batteries, he picked a large plushie of Charmander. Louis managed to find a Five Nights at Freddy's grabber machine, but failed to get anything on all 3 attempts. Those things were rich anyway. Contrary to Bass Dogs, Louis seemed perfectly content on going on a roller coaster that day. In fact, he was the one to lead the group around the park. They started off at the Wicker Man, a roller coaster that went through the wooden statue of a half-man, half-fairy demon from the depths of hell. Afterwards, they swiftly went onto the Smiler. In other words, a stomach-launching ride which didn't give you a break from twists and loops. It made them all feel a bit woozy for a while. They went around a laser tag haunted house, which was creatively called Duel, the Haunted House Strike Back, a game which Louis completely trashed them at. They stepped out of the exit line and maneuvered their way through the crowd to the Convo River ride. It was practically a river rapid ride. You went around in a bright yellow circular dinghy. Quick, go! Will laughed as he ushered his friends onto the circular boat. That was the only thing with the water rides. They didn't stop. If you didn't get on in time, you will be waiting for the next boat to come around. I saved you a seat right next to me, Ryan said to Louis, patting the particularly wet seat next to him. Louis smiled and sat down, trying to ignore how cold the seat felt. Baz and Reese had to sit in the seats that were soaked while Will managed to grab one of the only dry seats. Let's go, boys! Louis shouted over the sound of the waves and motors. The other man gave a cheer. You better keep a good hold of that, Ryan mentioned, pointing to Louis' camera as he recorded the water ride. Louis gave him a reassuring look and a nod as he continued to pan around the views of the rides, focusing on a few of his friends to get their thoughts and reactions when they came into the camera's view. Here we go! Will called out as the dinghy came to the top of the rapids. There were a few casses as the boat rocked and jolted, picking up speed and spinning faster down the shallow waterfalls. The dinghy crashed into the edge of the ride, causing water to spray high into the air. Fuck! Baz chilled as the water chose his pink hair as a target. Reese got wet too, but he was in hysterics at Baz's reaction. Eventually, Baz was laughing too, running his hand back through his hair to get most of the water droplets out. What else was he expecting from a water ride? The free raincoats the staff offered suddenly seemed like a good idea. Too late for that now. Your face, Baz! Ryan said through his slaughter. What's so bad about water? Oh, freak. What? Baz asked. I see buckets, and they are being filled. Ryan responded, shifting in his seat as he tried to predict the best place to be on the dinghy to not get completely drenched. The pink-haired man grinned mischievously. Oh, no you don't, Baz exclaimed. He grabbed Ryan's shoulders and held him in place. It's your turn! Reese and Will were laughing uncontrollably as Ryan squirmed, holding back the urge to just bash Baz. On a dinghy this small, a bash would send someone over the edge. Don't you dare, Baz! Let me go! He said sternly, a gut feeling suddenly telling him that he was in the path of the buckets. He looked back to where they were being filled. Their dinghy was getting closer to them. Will and Reese shuffled away. Lucky them, Ryan thought. He lifted up a hand, ready to pull at least one of Baz's arms off of his shoulder, but felt something cold hold it down. He turned around and saw Louis' hand clasped around his wrist. He wanted to swear before remembering he was being recorded. Yeah, Baz may have sworn too, but he didn't want to give Louis a hard time with censorship. Oh my gosh, Daco, don't do this to me! Ryan said instead, quickly concluding there was no escaping the torrent that was about to pour down on him. Yeah, Daco! Baz called to his friend with a grin. The buckets were closed now. You could hear the motors getting ready to turn, ready to dump. Crap, Ryan said, drawing the word out for as long as he could. He clamped his eyes shut and braced himself. Let his wrist start to ache. He opened one eye and glanced at Louis, who was still recording the whole ride. Except, he wasn't looking around anymore. He was staring right at Ryan. As the two men made eye contact, the corners of Louis' mouth twitched. The grip around Ryan's wrist got tighter to the point where it felt like it was burning. He hissed through his teeth and tried to pull his arm away. The grip tightened. Louis blinked. Jesus Christ, Louis! And then Ryan felt the air escape him as the cold water cascaded onto his head. He gasped with shock and desperately sucked air into his suddenly empty lungs. Ryan wiped the water out of his eyes and spluttered as he inhaled some of it. Baz howled with laughter ignoring the fact that the water had dropped all over his legs too. "Dawkins, you better have that on record," Will struggled to say through a laughing fit. Buzz finally let go of Ryan's shoulders as he went to grip his sides from pain of laughter. Ryan found himself giggling too. He blinked a couple more times to get the blurry sheen out of his eyes before giving another glance to Louise. He hadn't noticed the pressure released from his wrist. The younger man continued to record Ryan, laughter bubbling out of his mouth in uncomfortable ways. Ryan found his smile fading. With one last small laugh, he turned around awkwardly to watch the exit of the ride come closer. "What's wrong, mate?" Bess asked, still grinning. Ryan just held his tattooed arms up in defeat, showing the water dripping off them in streams. "What's wrong with a bit of water?" The pink-haired man continued smugly. "You were waiting to use my own line against me, weren't you?" Ryan sighed. Bess chuckled and gave a wink. Ryan ran a hand through his hair to get his fringe out of his eyes and flickered the water rested at his friend in a petty form of revenge. The exit to the right came around and the group got off hastily, not wanting to get trapped in another ride through the water rapids. First it was Baz, followed by Will and Reese. Louis hopped off and Ryan watched him. He rubbed his aching wrist and looked down, grimly taking note of the nail marks etched in his skin to flash red and hot. "Surely that was just Ryan!" Baz called. "You want to go around again or something?" He said with a smile, holding out his hand to help him off the dinghy. Ryan was snapped back to reality and quickly lunged forward, almost slipping on the wet metal floor. His friend caught him and dragged him onto the dry land and they quickly stepped out of the way as a family of 4 clambered onto the dinghy. "Who's up for food?" Reese asked, holding a slightly damp Charmander under his arm as he walked towards a hot dog and a burger stall. Will shrugged and followed. "Food sounds good," the musician stated as he followed the Scotsman. Bess and Louis started off after him, but the pink-haired man turned around when he realized there was one person missing. Ryan was holding his wrist, tracing lines across his skin. "You coming, mate?" Bess asked, keeping the confusion from his voice. Ryan looked back up. "Yeah," he replied, casually strolling over to his friend. "Yeah, let's eat."